So if someone comes to you and they're asking you, what now? What's next? Who you are? All the questions. Hey, 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 hey now. I'm cooking. Let me cook. Let me cook. Give me time. I don't have the answers to your questions. And be okay not having the answers to the questions that the people ask. Who is the people? Who cares? Okay, let me bring. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Marsha, and if you are joining us for the first time, we are currently in the middle of a series that we are calling From the Messy Middle to Becoming His. And this series is basically about transition, about navigating the different transitions that happens in your life as a woman, whether it is loss of a job, grief of any sort, fertility, loss of a loved one, divorce, all the messy things that we deal with as women, and we have to go out into the world and continue to live, continue to present ourselves. So, if this is your very first time, thank you for stopping by. Feel free to get caught up on some of our previous episodes, because today we are moving on to something else. We are moving on to just a conversation about rediscovering ourselves in the midst of transition. So, guys, if you are ready, are you ready for today's episode? Let's go! Before we get deep into this episode, I want to tell you about one of my daughters. So, some of you may know and some of you may not know that I have 4 children. I know, I don't look like it. I don't look like it. However, I do. I have 4 children. I have a 26-year-old son, a 24-year-old son, and the twin girls are 21. They're going to be 22 in August. So one of them, Jada, she likes baking. She likes cooking. She is a pastry chef of sorts, right? And she is exploring and she's growing in her craft. And just a few days ago, she was baking something. I mean, she's always baking something. She's always cooking something up in the kitchen, cake or cookies or croissants or what is the name of those things? Macarons and just all these other things. She's always testing her hand on and just trying to perfect her craft, you know? So just a few days ago, she was baking, like I said, as she always do. And while she's baking, we're always in and out of the kitchen. And sometimes she would rather just bake when nobody is there. She would rather bake when we're all asleep or when the house is empty, because for whatever reason, she can get into her zone. She can get locked in. She doesn't have to be worried about people asking 10 million questions. It's her happy space of sorts, right? This is the place that she just likes to get locked in, get into it, and do all the things that she has to do. Anyhow, a few days ago, she was baking a cake, and I came in the kitchen, and I was like, when is it going to be finished? You know, like, it takes so long. And she's like, Mom, this cake baking thing is a process, you know? And so I stopped to really lean in and think about her process. Going to the store the day before to pick up all the items, or sometimes she goes to the store a few days early, picks up all her items, sit them in the fridge or pantry, wherever, and then she'll come in, she'll take stuff out, she'll whip the cake up, set the oven to the right temperature, put the cake in the oven, let it sit in there, and then she'll put it in the fridge sometimes to cool off so that she can ice it and prepare it and so on. So she'll put the cake in the oven, it'll come out, and during all this process, we're stepping in, we're constantly checking in. Where's the cake? Where's the cake? Where's the cake? When is the cake gonna be done? When is the cake gonna be done? And she said something to me. She said, Mom, you don't want a half done cake, do you? And I was like, no, nobody wants a half baked cake. But in the same way that we don't want to have done cake, sometimes it's so hard to wait the process through to get the finished product, right? And sometimes you're looking in the oven and you're trying to tell where in the process is this cake. You're looking at it, is it almost done? Do it still got a little way to go? And you can't enjoy the finished product until you allow the cake to cook in the oven. And I was thinking about how, when that cake is in the oven, when that cake is submerged into the heat of that oven, we can't see what is being cooked and what is being developed on the inside. We can't see the process. We can't see the eggs, the cake, the flour, everything that's cooking in there. We don't have preview to it. We don't get to see, or we don't get to experience the goodness of that cake until it's finished in the heat. I'll pause right there. Let's move into today's episode. So, like I said, today's episode, we are talking about rediscovering ourselves after the shift, after everything has happened. As we settle into today's episode, and we're talking about just rediscovering ourselves, rediscovering what life looks like for us now, I found that in that whole rediscovering is a question that I have been asking myself. And that question is just, who am I now? And I know that I've spoken a tad bit on this. And I think it was episode 2 when we talk about where do I belong? But this is a little bit different in the sense of, as you rebuild and as you move forward, that question of who am I now? Where do I belong? What does life look like? It keeps plaguing you, and it comes up from time and time again. And so I've been forced to just try to sit with that question and just ask myself, who am I? Because when life changes, especially in a major way, not only does the circumstances around it change, but I believe that sometimes our identity shifts, especially if, like I've been saying, especially if we identified with our roles and the routines that we had, if we identify with those things as being part of our identity, when everything shifts, our identity takes a hit as well, and our identity shift. And so it can become very confusing and unsettling because you're no longer who you were, but you're not fully who you are yet, right? You're not fully that person that you're going to become coming out of this whole situation. It's almost like you're in between versions of yourself. You're not the old version, but you're not quite the new version. And that's rough, and that's hard to navigate. And answering that question for yourself is going to mean that you're going to have to release some things. You're going to have to release the old versions of yourself that you've seen. You're going to have to release the things that you thought once defined you, because the truth is, they were never you. They were pieces of your identity, but they were never who you are. They were never who you were. And sometimes the temptation right here is to be like, oh, I got to hurry up and figure out who I am. I got to rush to figure it out. I got to rush to redefine myself, to fill this space with something new, to become and to show who I am now. There's a particular beauty in the middle of transition that we don't always see. We don't get to see it while it's happening. It's like the cake cooking in the oven. While the cake is cooking, we don't always get to see what is happening underneath the surface. We don't always get to see how that cake is cooking, what the heat and what the pressure is doing to it to make it something that we can have a pleasant experience of. We don't get to see the behind the scenes. And so while we're in this middle of transition, we have to also know that we're a cake in the oven. We're baking and we're very much cooking, and we don't get to see and we don't get to emerge into who we truly are until the process is finished. Trying to fill that space, this new process, with who you really are is rushing your own process of becoming. So the thing is to sit in the heat and take the heat, take the uncomfortableness, take the messiness, take all the things that comes with being in the middle of transition that doesn't feel good, so that the final product, the final person that comes out of it is really the person that stood the test of time and allowed process to have its finished works in you. And for me, the realization that the person that I am becoming cannot be rushed. The person that I'm becoming cannot skip the process because I will be defeating my own finished work, right? I will be defeating, or even, how should I say this? I will be sabotaging my own process if I don't allow myself to sit in it. If I rush to get to the end, then I don't get to experience that beautiful thing, that finished thing. And this is where it comes back to the cake. I am cake in the oven cooking. It's hot. The heat is on me right now. But do I want to come out half baked? Do I want to come out half done? Or do I want to give myself the full process and allow myself the time and the room and the space to cook, to fully cook without rushing the process, so that everyone that I come into contact with get to experience the beauty of the finished product? So to rediscover myself right now means to go slow, to take time, to embrace the process, to find the joy even in the middle of the pain, because I know that once I sit it out, once I allow that time to go, what is emerging on the opposite side is something that I can be happy with. And sometimes that has to be just enough for us. We like to rush everything. And when we're rushing past things, we tend to miss the beauty of process, the beauty of what process does in all of us, really. We don't get to experience the fullness of things until we allow it to go through its process. We don't get to experience the cake until after it's done. Now it can be seen. Now it can be felt. Now it can be tasted. So while it's cooking, we do everything to ensure that it stays in the heat until it's done. And that is the same thing we want to do. What am I saying? I'm saying give yourself permission, room, and space to cook. Don't rush the process. The goal is to be fully cooked and not half baked. And it's something that you can do. You can endure the heat for the season that it is, so that you can get to the final product. So in this season of rediscovering yourself, be patient with yourself, Marcia. This season is an opportunity for me and for you, if you find yourself in the middle of transition, for you to rediscover yourself slowly. What do you like? Um, what does the things that you like feel like? What fits and what no longer fits? No rushing, no forcing, no performing, just sitting in a moment and being you, just sitting in the time and being you. Finding yourself again doesn't come all at once. It's a small, slow process. It's small steps, it's slow, and it's very personal to you. And so you have to give yourself the permission to sit here. You have to give yourself the permission to be okay with it, to be okay with the process of reconnecting and discovering who this new person that is coming out is. Truly reconnecting with yourself. Taking time to pay attention to you, to what feels like you, what feels normal to you, what feels good to you. Not in a crazy way, but not in a way that is destructive, but definitely in a way that is constructive to your growth and to your process. What comes naturally. If you are like me, my earlier years were filled with marriage and raising children. And I started out early at 17. So I really don't believe that I had the opportunity to really get to know myself, because I was always caring for somebody else. And I wanted to be a good mother. So I made sure that I put everything that I had, with the help of God, into being the best parent that I knew how to be. Of course, I made mistakes along the way, but I tried my best. And so in that, there wasn't a lot of room for me to really sit with myself and discover myself. And let the truth be told, sometimes I thought that I knew myself and I knew all the things about me, what I like, and I found out that that wasn't necessarily true. And what I'm finding out now is you're always rediscovering who you are. You're always in the journey of figuring out you, because while you're living, situations are happening, things are coming your way, and your experiences is constantly causing you to morph and constantly causing you to change. And sometimes you don't realize how things affect you until way later on. So what I've got in the habit of is really trying to sit with myself through situations, so that I am not moving on without allowing process and allowing myself the ability to grow from whatever it is I experience. Because when you don't do that, you make decisions out of emotions, and some decisions cost you years. Some bad decisions cause you years to recover from. And so when you get to my age, you get to the point where you're like, I'd rather sit in this moment. I'd rather take my time with this thing than rush forward, because I don't have time to waste anymore. I don't have time to waste on the wrong decision, all because I didn't have the patience for myself. So yeah, so now I've been giving myself permission to try some things again, see, do I really like it without pressure? Even the simple things like running. I really had to revisit that. Running feels weird for me now. And I know that it is something that I like. I know that it is something that I truly enjoy, but I am trying to figure out what the deal is. What the deal is with me and running right now. I just it's weird. But the point is to rediscover, try things and see if those are still the things that you like, if there's something different that you want to try. Not a major thing for me right now is creating quiet spaces, not filling every moment with noise or distraction, but actually being able to sit with myself, even when it feels uncomfortable, because we know that silence can sometimes be so deafening. Taking the time to learn more about me in those quiet moments, to really listen to myself, to date myself, to truly get to know Marsha, to date myself, not only with activities like dinner and movies and spa dates and shopping and all the things, but actually to sit in silence and hear my inner self, hear my thoughts, pay attention to my mindsets, why I think the way, how I think, take the time to question myself beneath the surface, and then to enjoy my own company, you know. And I want to say something about taking the time to question myself, question my thoughts, question my decisions, question my mindsets. Why do I think a certain way? Why do I feel a certain way? Just to uncover the truth about these things, so that I'm not making decisions based off of a lie, because I didn't take the time to really sit with myself and question myself. And when I find that things aren't, that thought process may not have been sound, being wise enough to let it go, to shift, to grow, and to be okay with changing from my very core if I find that it does not align with the woman that I want to be and the woman that I am becoming. And some of these things you don't discover unless you sit with yourself. And there's the fun things that I've been leaning into that, they help me grow gently, whether it's reading a book or reading something that's encouraging, journaling, watching movies. I have been show binging and watching movies, and for whatever reason, they've been really good to me. And I'm enjoying that space for right now, because I realize that every step of this process of rediscovery doesn't look the same way. And even though movies might be my thing right now, I know that it's not going to stay that way. So I'm just enjoying this space right now, because the next step is going to be something else. And so I'm not questioning the things that I feel that I want to do genuinely. I'm just trying to make sure that there's balance. There's balance to it. And circling back to reading, sometimes reading even a few pages can shift you, can encourage your growth, and it can speak to your identity in a way that is just beautiful. So reading 30, 20 minutes a day, an hour, depending on how much time you have, that really helps. And finding yourself again isn't about becoming one single thing or one single person overnight, but it's about slowly reconnecting with who you are one step at a time, disregarding the things that doesn't apply and embracing the things that do, especially when you know that this space is not going to be forever. This time is not going to be forever. You get the opportunity to be a part of what is happening. You don't let life just happen to you, but you're fully engaging in the way that it flows, the woman that you become, the woman that you want to become. You're taking time to invest in her. And investing in her, let me tell you, the big major part of investing in the woman that you see yourself becoming, the woman that you want to come, is learning how to, the woman that you want to become, rather, is learning how to anchor your identity in God. Not in roles, not in titles, but in who God says you are, in who God says I am. This requires for me to read his word for myself, to pray, to spend time in praise and worship, to fast, and to engage in spiritual pursuits that help me discover myself in God's word. Because once we discover ourselves in his word, we don't attach ourselves to the things of the world, the things that are shifting, the things that can go at any particular time. We are anchored in something that is more stable. We are anchored in something that cannot be taken away from us, right? So spending time in the word gives you that confidence outside of things of who you are, and it anchors you in Christ and in God, that is not shifting or is not moving. He's gonna stay right here with you, staying in his word, staying in his presence, and renewing my mind to who I am in him. What does his word say about me? What can I believe about him? What foundation should I be standing on? Where should I be attaching my identity so that it stays with me and it stays in me and it's not shifting when things shift? As I do all these things, I reassure myself, and I want to reassure you as well, that all isn't lost. All isn't lost. And even though it might feel like it from time to time, it may feel that way. That is just an emotion, and that is going to pass with the weeks, with the days, with the months, right? You're not starting from nothing. I am not starting from nothing. God is with me. God is with you. And in this process of rediscovering ourselves in him. So we don't have to figure it out all by ourselves, right? We just need to start paying attention to him and to ourselves. So if you've been asking yourself, who am I now? I want to encourage you, and I want to give you permission to not have the full answers yet. That's just it. Not have the full answers yet. Take your time. I am taking my time, and you should take your time and anchor yourself in becoming his, becoming a daughter of Christ, truly becoming who you are, because that's who you've always been, a daughter in Christ. So if someone comes to you and they're asking you, what now? What's next? Who you are? All the questions. Hey, 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 hey now. I'm cooking. Let me cook. Let me cook. Give me time. I don't have the answers to your questions. And be okay not having the answers to the questions that the people ask. Who is the people? Who cares? Okay, let me bring myself back in before I go off on a rant. But the whole point of this episode of rediscovering yourself is so that you can see that you have time, that you have time. You're not alone. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with yourself, and know that you don't have to have all the answers. I know we are living in a time and in a society where everybody's rushing to the final end. Everybody wants to get to the goal, get to the process, get to the bag, get to everybody wants to get to the thing. And I am encouraging you that beauty, that God is in the process, that you can give yourself permission to not have all the answers, to not have everything figured out, and to take one day at a time, one step at a time. Does that mean that you don't have to have plans? No, you can definitely plan. But even in planning, you have to take the steps one step at a time. You have to take the days one day at a time. So be encouraged. If you know of a woman who is going through her own messy middle, I encourage you to encourage her in this process. Give her permission to take her time to sit with herself and let her know that she don't have to rush herself. And you can send any of these episodes to her to encourage her. If this episode has been good to you, please share it with a friend. Like, comment, and let me know that you are here. Let me know where you are in your journey and in your process of the messy middle. I will see you in the next episode. Bye.